Hi, Elly here. This morning, a client sent me a text message asking me, how do I answer this yes and no question for myself? Well, there are so many different ways to do that. So I began by asking her, do you know how to use the pendulum? And her response was no. So I said, well, you know what? Let me teach you. And so that is exactly what I'm doing. This video is designed to teach my client and you also if you've never used a pendulum. Well, what is a pendulum? Pendulum dates back to antiquity. It is an object that hangs from a string. Now, you can use crystals, you can use anything that you'd really like. You can use medallions, you can use a string with a nut and a bolt tied to it. Basically, anything that has weight at the bottom that will allow you to move, that will allow it to move forward and backward. Now, the interesting thing about pendulums is that there are some myths that are associated with this. Myth number one is that you must cleanse them and you've got to put them out by the moonlight. They have to be crystals. You have to do all kinds of things with them and wash them before you start using that. And if that's your belief, great. If you want to have that ritual, wonderful. I'm very practical. I like to save time and energy, and I don't necessarily go and lay out pendulum crystals before I use them. I just use them. So the first thing that I do is I will choose one of my pendulums. I only work with two. You can work with however many you want. And I determine, first of all, by asking the pendulum which direction is yes and which direction is no. So the first thing I will do is hold steady, and I put my arms down on the table to do this. And I put my arms down on the table, and so that it's steady, and then I focus. And then I'd ask the pendulum, show me which way is yes. So for me, it is going vertically is yes for me. And then let's stop it. Show me which way is no, and there we go. Horizontally is no. All right, now this is beautiful because it works on so many different levels. It works on a deeper subconscious level, and it works kind of with, I'm going to call it through telekinesis also at the same time. And you're going to get the answer that you want to hear. And why I say that you want to hear is I'm going to give you some examples. Many, many years ago, I had a consulting client, and she asked a question, am I going to marry Joe? And she was so in love with Joe, and she wanted to marry Joe. So she would sit there and ask the pendulum, am I going to marry Joe? And this was back in the day before we had Zoom, when I would meet clients in person. And so I'd watch her do the pendulum, and it went, yes, she will marry Joe. She will marry Joe. It was so, so clear. Well, she believed that she was going to marry Joe. That's really what she believed. Now, in the other reality that exists, everything pointed to no. They weren't dating. He wasn't particularly interested in her. She was making all sorts of advances towards him, and he was running the other way. So looking at it through social dynamics, it looked as if it wasn't going to be true. But you see, the thing with the pendulum is that that was really what she wanted to hear. So yes, did she want to marry Joe? Absolutely. All right, so now, Joe ended up getting married to somebody else and having a child with that new partner. So what does that have to do with this? Here's what it has to do with everything. You will get the answer that you want to hear. And then after you get the answer that you want to hear, then you can make a decision on that answer. So for example, do I hire James to come work with me? And the answer is yes, I do. All right, there you go. If you're 100% in alignment with hiring James, this is your confirmation and you are done with this pendulum. If you're not 100% in alignment with hiring James, you'll want to look again and look at what were the underlying causes that have you not really want to work with James. And in that case, you can start looking at past programming, or you can look at subconscious patterns, or you can even look at trusting your intuition. So I intend that this was helpful, and you can learn more about my work, my consulting, my psychic readings at ellymolina.com. Link is at the bottom. If you like and enjoyed this little video on using pendulums for the first time, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and share. All right, I'll see you all later. Thank you.